Celine. I have been working as a slave maid for 5 years to earn redemption for a crime I never committed. At 3 p.m. today, my last shift ends, meaning I won't have to be a slave anymore. My eyes landed on the clock, and I watched as it chimed 3. At the same time, the invisible weight I had carried on my shoulders for the last 5 years was lifted. A tear slid down my cheek. I'm free, I whispered to myself as I got up from my spot on the floor. Today, I was going to see my parents when they came to get me. A smile widened on my lips again. I would get to see my mama again. You still believe that they care about you? My wolf spoke up and sighed. They will come, Silver. You are so pessimistic. I may not be their real daughter, but I am still a part of their family. When I was young, I never doubted who I was. I was the Alpha's daughter. My parents loved me, and my brother protected me. I was their little girl in their arms, bringing them joy and happiness, until I failed to shift at 18. Rumors and gossip spread like wildfire, saying that I was the weakest wolf in the history of my powerful family. Dad, as the Alpha, forbade our pack members to talk about this in front of me. My brother even fought with people who tried to hurt me with harsh words. But I never knew that an investigation into me was underway in secret. They brought back their biological daughter, Sheila. I always remembered the day I learned the truth. Mom, Dad and brother held Sheila tightly to their chests. I stood by and felt so alone and excluded. But life was what it was. I needed to move on and accept the truth, no matter how cruel it was. It was also on that day that Dad called me to his office and told me that I could still stay in their home. I almost cried and impulsively rushed into his arms and hugged him as usual. My happiness let me ignore the fact that Dad didn't hug me back. Silver continued scoffing. But they didn't come to check on you? Not even a letter? That family doesn't deserve you. Silver had always spoken these words, but I refused to believe them. Yet, in the last 5 years, they hadn't visited me even once. Were they ashamed of me for being a maid? Impossible. They knew I didn't steal anything. Stealing was the crime I was punished for. 5 years ago, when our new Alpha King was about to gather his military at the border, a grand party was held in the palace to send him off with wishes for his safety. The party was great, except for 2 things. 1, I never saw the king appear at the event, and 2, Sheila, my new sister, stole Princess Anya's ring, which was an important gift for her. She noticed its disappearance immediately. Furious, the princess ordered a search of everyone and everywhere. Sheila's face was filled with panic and fear. My family discovered the truth just before the soldiers came to check on us. There was no time to hide the ring, everyone was watching. The tense and fearful atmosphere strangled each of us, until Mom held my hand with tears and asked me to help them this time, taking the ring and admitting that I was the thief. Can a person's heart be broken again? I was stiff and looked at my mother, who kept saying that Sheila must not be accused. Dad and brother didn't dare to look at me. Their attitude told me that they wanted me to do this. Hot tears rolled down my face. No. 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 I shouted thousands of times and rejected them in my mind. But when the soldiers checked us, I stood up. On that day, I went from an Alpha's daughter to a slave maid. The truth of that night was forever sealed in my mouth. My family's and Sheila's names remained clean. Celine. The sharp bark of the head maid snapped me back to reality. I startled, nearly knocking over a vase, and turned to face the woman's scowling expression. Quit daydreaming, she snapped, her tone slicing through me like a whip. The princess has a tea party this afternoon, and you're late to prepare her chambers. I bit the inside of my cheek hard, tasting copper. No one knew I was free. I wouldn't be free until the princess said I was. The deal was 5 years, but any mistake could extend my sentence. So I nodded politely. Yes, ma'am, I answered, bowing my head as I scurried past, ignoring the head maid's insults. This was the last time I'd have to endure it. The thought gave me enough strength to open the heavy doors to the princess's private sitting room. And there she was, Sheila, seated with Princess Anya, laughing while eating cookies. My breath caught, and for a moment, my heart swelled with hope. My sister was here. She had come to take me home. I knew they hadn't forgotten about me. Sheila, I gasped, stepping forward. You're here. Did Mother and Father send you? Are you here too? I'll go get my things. I turned to leave. But Princess Anya let out a cold, loud laugh, the sound mocking as Sheila scoffed. What is she talking about? My brows furrowed as I turned back to them. Did you not come to take me home? I thought Sheila. Princess Anya shot me a disgusted look. Who the hell gave you permission to do anything? Sheila placed a hand on Anya's. I'll handle the stupid maid. I'm not here for you, Celine. Her words struck me harshly in the chest as I stood there, confused. But I don't understand. My service term ends today. I'm finally free to see mother and father and be part of the family again. Sheila smirked, tapping a perfectly manicured nail against the rim of a teacup. I thought someone should tell you the truth since you're too dense to figure it out yourself. Your service term? It's permanent. You'll always be the palace maid. Forever. Celine. The world tilted beneath my feet. No. That's not true, I whispered, shaking my head. They promised. They promised to take me home after I was released from the palace. They lied. Sheila's words cut me as sharp as a blade would. They don't care about you. They don't even remember you exist. Honestly, you should thank me. At least now you know where you stand. On your knees, scrubbing floors. It suits you. A tear slid from my eye. My parents lied about the service term. They were never going to get me after 5 years? Please don't do this to me. Sheila smirked, her eyes glinting with malice. Oh, Celine, this is what you are good for. Now refill my cup, slave, she sneered, holding up her teacup for me to fill. I sniffled back my tears as I took small steps to the chair she and Anya sat in, looking at me with hatred in their eyes. I didn't believe her words. Mother and father would never allow this. She probably brainwashed them like she did to Anya. The porcelain tea jug shook in my shaky hands as I poured tea for Sheila, but as I was about to return, I felt a nudge from Sheila causing me to trip and fall onto the table, breaking all the fine china and sending the porcelain teacups crashing to the ground with a deafening clatter. Gasps filled the room, and my heart sank with the realization of what just happened. Celine. Princess Anya jumped up from her seat and angrily accused me. Do you have any idea what you've done? I didn't mean to, I stammered, my hands trembling as I bent down, trying to gather the shards. Sheila pushed me. She's lying, Sheila interjected smoothly, stepping forward with lies out of her mouth so naturally. I saw her, Anya. She wasn't paying attention, and then she just tripped on her own self. It's disgraceful. That's not true, I cried, straightening to face her. You pushed me, Sheila. You're the one who caused this. Sheila gasped innocently, pressing a hand to her chest. Me? Why would I ever do such a thing? She turned to Princess Anya, her expression the picture of innocence. I know you've been kind to her, Anya, but maybe it's time we admit the truth. Celine simply doesn't belong here. You liar, I shouted, protested for myself. Frustration and anger streamed through my veins. Anya's icy gaze landed on me. Enough, she snapped. That tea set was an heirloom. A priceless piece of my family's history, and you've destroyed it. I didn't mean to, I pleaded, my voice trembling with desperation to be heard. It wasn't my fault. Her hand shot out, striking me across the face with a sharp slap. Pain shot across my cheek, and I stumbled back, stunned. I gave you a chance because we were friends once, she hissed, not hiding the venom in her words. But now, you'll pay for your clumsiness and disrespect. Anya, please, tears streaming down my face. Guards! She barked, her authority filling the room. The guards stormed in, their heavy boots echoing against the stone floor. Take her outside, Anya commanded coldly. Let the entire court see the punishment for someone so careless. No, please, I cried, but the guards seized me roughly, dragging me toward the door. They shoved me to my knees on the gravel outside, the sharp stones biting into my skin. A crowd gathered, murmuring and pointing, the maids who hated me laughing with delight. The guards struck me harshly, their fists and boots raining down. Learn your place. One snarled as his boot connected with my ribs. Silver, my wolf, spoke softly in my mind, her words soft and soothing. We'll get through this, Celine. Stay strong. But I couldn't believe her. I couldn't see a way out. The beating continued until, suddenly, the sharp blare of a trumpet silenced everything. The Alpha King has returned. A booming voice announced. The crowd went still, and for a moment, all I could hear was the sound of my own ragged breathing. Kaiden. After so many years, I stepped foot into my pack again. My mind link being set in place again. My men and I have been gone for so long, it felt good and warm to be at the pack again. Years ago, I wouldn't have thought I would come to miss my kingdom, but after my brother and sister-in-law died, I had to take over, wear the heavy crown, and take care of my niece, who only had me. But due to the border rebellion from the nasty rogues, I had to leave her, too. And the minute I mind-linked her that I was back to the pack, I could feel her excitement through the link. But something else caught my attention. As our pack tradition, when the king returned, the guards and maids lined up to welcome him. But that wasn't what stole my attention. A maid, fallen on the ground, unmoving. The sight of her struck me like a bolt of lightning. Her soft features, the delicate curve of her neck, everything about her tugged at my instincts. My wolf stirred restlessly within me, a primal energy clawing to the surface. But I clenched my fists, keeping my composure. And the scent coming from her, freezing me in my place. Kaiden. Anya screamed happily as she walked out of the palace, but I ignored her outstretched hands as I stormed to my mate. Who did this to her? I thundered at the guards and maids as I crouched to her level. Her face was bloodied and her face streamed with tears. Kaiden, leave her, Anya began to say, but I silenced her with a growl, causing tension to fill the whole place. The guards swallowed harshly as my angry eyes swept over them, but I focused on the shaky maid. My mate. What were the odds of finding her in the same pack I lived in? I carried her in my arms, and my wolf immediately rejoiced at the contact. Her small body molded into my arms, but she ignored my gaze, her face buried in my chest. I took her up the stairs, into the palace, and I could feel her shiver in my hold. What could have happened to her? Why was she being punished? Her soft scent wafted into my nose as I walked into my room that I haven't been in years, and I softly placed her on the chair, and watched her intently. I could hear the faint beating of her heart as she curled away from my gaze, and I softly sighed. Something was odd about her, I thought as I got a first aid box, and knelt in front of her. Remove your hands from your face, I commanded. Reluctantly, she pulled her hand away from her face, revealing the most beautiful face I had ever seen, blood and tear-streaked. I used wet clothes to wipe her face, and cotton wool to wipe her wounds. She winced as I did, but I didn't stop until I finished. Thank you, she mumbled, her eyes darting everywhere except my eyes. I gripped her chin, and almost gasped at the sparks that flew when my fingertips met her chin. Her eyes widened in surprise and I knew she felt it too. What's your name, little mate? She swallowed softly as she shyly avoided my eyes. Celine, your highness. Celine. My wolf purred at her name. But I pushed the sentiments aside, my gaze boring into hers. Who pushed you, Celine, and why were you beaten up? I saw her visibly tremble as I asked my question, and I knew there was something I had to know. No one, she finally murmured. I frowned. My wolf growled softly, sensing her hesitation, but he didn't press further. Before I could ask anything else, my mind was interrupted by the familiar tug of a mental link. Anya. Uncle Kaiden, Anya's voice chimed sweetly. I see you've brought Celine to your chambers. Is she your mate? I saw you being tender towards her and I want to be sure. I studied Celine as I spoke with Anya and saw as she cowered under my gaze. She was weak and small, not fit to lead. But I could see a fire in her eyes. Why do you want to know, Anya? I replied, my niece. Well then you should know that she's a thief, a liar and also wolfless. She's a despicable human who isn't fit to be a member of our kingdom. I stiffened at my niece's words. My wolf snarled at the insult, but the accusation lingered on my mind like a thorn. I broke the link and turned to Celine, who was now staring at the floor. The accusation was one that would be stupid to be thrown around lightly, but Anya knew the risks of lying to me. Is it true? I asked, my tone sharp. Are you a thief? Celine's head snapped up, her eyes shimmering with unshed tears. She opened her mouth to speak, but no words came out. Disappointment filled me as I gritted. Answer me, Celine. Her voice broke, and she looked away. Yes. The single word was a knife to my chest. My mate. A thief. My wolf growled in protest, but I silenced it. I took a step back, my expression hardening. You could have denied it, I said coldly. You could have explained yourself, but instead, you admit to being a criminal. My mate may be weak, but she will not be despicable. Celine flinched at my words, but it needed to be said. Not bearing to see her again, I turned my back to her, my hands clenched at my sides. Get out of my room, I said, my voice laced with fury. I heard her silently leave and a burdened sigh left my lips. A thief could never be my mate. No matter what my wolf may feel, I had the integrity of my crown to protect. Celine. Shamefully, I ran away from the alpha's room like the coward that I was. I couldn't recover from the look of disgust he gave me when I admitted to being a thief. His piercing gaze burned into my soul, making me feel smaller than ever under his stare. Why did I have to admit to being a slave? Would he have believed me if I had told him the truth about Sheila? My parents didn't care for me, but why was I still helping them protect Sheila? I wiped away an angry tear that slid from my eye. I never thought my mate, not even the king, could be within these walls. But now, all hopes of finding a mate who would love me and cherish me had been dashed. My mate would rather die than accept me, a thief, as his queen. Approaching my sorry excuse for a room, I passed in front of the maids' quarters. A huge room that all the maids lived in. They refused to let me live with them, casting me into a storage room infested with rats and insulting me every night I had to pass their room to get to mine. I wiped my tears and tried to remain passive, like I always did, quickening my steps. But the worst one of them all, the head maid, sighted me before I could escape. Hey, look. It's that petty thief. Did you really think today was your last day and you could return to mommy and daddy? Her minions cackled, chattering amongst themselves about how pathetic I was. I blinked back tears and sped past their room. Wait, don't go. I would love to hear how getting fucked by the king was. Although I'm sure he kicked you out when he smelled the scent of all the males in the palace on you. That wasn't even true. I had been saving myself for my mate. But the tears were streaming now, and I quickened my steps, running into my room and slamming the door shut behind me. Immediately, I heard a loud kick on my door and the sound of it being locked from the outside. They always did that, though they let me out in the morning. I grabbed my pillow off my bed and let out a loud scream into it, my chest hurting from how much pain I was releasing. I didn't deserve this, I thought as I cried into my pillow. All I ever wanted was to make my parents proud of me. My gaze landed on my packed belongings in a bag, and my wolf whispered to me. Run away, Celine. You know nothing stops you from leaving, so why don't you escape this hellhole while you can? I thought about what she said and sighed. She was right. Now that everything had been taken away from me, and my mate and parents had made it clear they wanted nothing to do with me, I could leave. The locked door didn't stop me. My wolf was different from others. When I shifted into my wolf, I became a ghost. My wolf could never be touched and could pass through walls at will. But where would I go if I left here? This place was awful, but at least I had a roof and scraps to eat. If I left, I had no one. I debated with myself about the best decision to make, but after some time, I wasn't able to make up my mind and began to doze off into a dreamless sleep, ignoring the hunger biting at my stomach. The sound of the lock turning broke the stillness, and I jumped up from my sleep, my heart racing with fear. They never opened the door this early. The door creaked open, and a figure stepped inside. A man. Oh no, they brought one of the guards to take advantage of me. My breath hitched as I pressed myself against the wall, clutching the thin sheet from my bed as though it could shield me. The faint light from the hallway illuminated his face. A young guard I recognized faintly. He wasn't one of the usual cruel ones, but his presence still sent my heart racing with panic. No one could be trusted in this palace. Please, I started to beg, but he stopped me. Celine, he whispered, glancing nervously over his shoulder before shutting the door behind him. Don't scream. I'm not here to hurt you. I narrowed my eyes. He knew my name. Then why are you here? And why now? He hesitated, his hand brushing through his hair. Because I owe you. Months ago, you helped me find my sister when she got lost in the palace grounds. I never forgot that. And now, I see how they treat you. It's not right. I blinked, caught off guard by his words. No one had ever spoken to me with kindness in this place. No one cared how they treated anyone here. I could remember him now and his precious little sister I helped. I didn't know it meant anything to him. I can't stand by anymore, he continued. I'm here to help you escape. The word escape hung in the air, tempting and terrifying at once. My wolf stirred within me, urging me to take the chance. Still, my doubt trumped over the urge. Even if I could leave, where would I go? I have nothing, no one. You'll figure it out, he said firmly. Anywhere is better than here, isn't it? His determination made me falter. For once, it was refreshing to have someone care for me, but I couldn't help but think about what would happen if he were caught. Helping an offender escape was an offense. And what about you? If they catch you helping me, they'll punish you. He offered a small, brave smile. Let me worry about that. Come on, we don't have much time. I hesitated, my fingers curling around the strap of my bag. Could I really do this? Could I leave everything I'd ever known behind? Leaving meant giving up my parents and my mate. But neither had any use for me. If I left, they would barely realize I was gone. They didn't care. Accepting that fact, I took a deep breath and looked at the young guard. All right, I whispered, slinging the bag over my shoulder. But how do we get past the guards? He smirked. Leave that to me. We weaved through the palace without a hitch, the only sound as we made our way out being the loud beating of my heart as I wrapped my head around the fact that I was truly escaping. The young guard, Neil, gripped my hand hard as he slipped me through a small opening in the walls of the palace, leading me to the back gates, where I could escape out of the pack border. Neil turned to me as he gestured to the woods, a soft look in his eyes. You are free now. This was it. All I had to do was run in that direction and never look back. I just had to let go of Neil's hand and run. Thank you, I had begun to say, but a loud growl cut me mid-sentence, and all the blood in my veins turned to ice. I saw Neil's face turn pale as he stared at or rather, who was behind me. Your Highness, I. The blood drained from my face as I turned slowly and came to face the king, my mate. And he was livid. How dare you sneak a prisoner out of the pack? Kaiden. How dare you run away from the pack that has been merciful to you despite what you've done? I growled, my head roaring with anger, as I glared at the pair in front of me. How dare she run away? How dare he, a guard, help her escape? This infuriated me to no end as I watched them nervously shift under my gaze as they realized that they had been caught. Kai, Your Highness, Celine whispered, her gaze falling to the floor. It's not what you think. The guard pulled her behind him in a protective stance, and my gaze followed their enclosed hands. This caused my wolf to jump around in anger, begging for control so he could tear the little guard apart. If you want to punish anyone, punish me. I am not sorry for doing this. She deserves so much better treatment than the treatment everyone in this kingdom has been giving her, especially your niece. The guard all but spat in my face. A monstrous growl that would wake the whole kingdom tore through my lips. How dare you talk to me in that manner, mutt? I stormed towards him with my claws extended, body shaking with fury. I should rip you apart for attempting to break out a prisoner from my kingdom. No, Celine cried as she flung her little body in front of the guard. Please don't hurt him. Deal with me, I forced him to do this. Face me, not him. I watched as tears flowed from her eyes as she tried to protect the guard from my wrath and jealousy spiked within me. She was willing to face my wrath instead of him? Was this little mutt dating my mate? I gave him a glare so sharp, making him bow in fear. Good. Please, Your Highness, Celine whispered in a voice that made me sigh as I drew back my claws and run my hand through my hair in agitation. Fine. And don't think I'm going to take it easy on him because you begged. I'll issue out punishments first thing in the morning. I saw her visibly relax, making me grit my teeth in annoyance as I glared at the guard. Now leave us. I gritted out. He hesitated, and I rose a brow in amusement. Was this mutt, who I could break in half, daring me? Did I stutter, mutt? Celine gave him a reassuring nod, and then he left, not without giving me another look, his wolf radiating arrogance and courage that was going to get him killed. Silence descended as I turned to look at Celine, who dropped her gaze to her feet where her luggage was, the sight twisting my guts into a pretzel. My mate was going to run away. Thank you. She breathed out. I stared at her, my chest tightening with every word she spoke. Thank you. My mind was spinning, confusion mixing with a dull ache in my chest. She wasn't scared. She wasn't begging me for mercy. She was thanking me. After she left my room earlier, I had asked my beta to run a background check on her. I needed to understand why someone who gave such a calm aura could also be a thief. He told me about her being the adopted daughter of Alpha Richard of the Dark Bloom Pack, an alpha everyone respected. Why would his daughter all of a sudden steal? She confused me and angered me all the same. But I was willing to make her into a better person, fit to rule. But while I thought that, she had the nerve to attempt an escape. Thank you, I repeated, my voice hoarse. The anger inside me roared back to life, but it was directed at her. Celine's gaze remained fixed on the floor, her fingers clenching and unclenching around the hem of her dress. For sparing him, she murmured, her words barely above a whisper. I could feel the ache of frustration building inside me again. Sparing him? I had the power to crush him without lifting a finger. And yet, she was thanking me for sparing him. Why would you protect him like that? I asked, my voice rough as I took a step closer to her. I wasn't sure what I was expecting. An apology. An explanation. Something to make sense of her actions. Celine looked up then, her eyes filled with sadness. She was beautiful, too beautiful for her own good, and it made my anger flare even brighter. Because he's the only one who's been kind to me. He's the only one who's treated me like a person, not just a prisoner, she said quietly, her voice shaking. I owe him that much. I clenched and unclenched my jaw, unsure of what to make of her sentence, only the anger of her almost leaving roaring in my mind. Well, he's dead if he ever tries to break you out again, got it? She gasped in shock as her eyes met mine, and I almost felt bad for saying those words, but watching him break her out was enough to wipe the sympathy away. Got it, little mate. She nodded softly, tears dropping from her face. I clenched my jaw, looking away. Do you love him? I asked, the words feeling like acid on my tongue. What? I said, do you love the guard? Is that why you wanted to leave with him? Celine's gaze flickered back to the floor, and her lips parted as if to say something, but no words came out. She was silent, eyes wide in shock as if the question had left her speechless. I wasn't done. Seeing her with him made me act in this manner that I couldn't explain, and I needed an answer. Answer me, Celine, I growled, my words sharp and demanding, my hands balling into fists at my sides. I was desperate for an answer. Why had she tried to escape? Why did she care so much for that mutt? Celine took a deep breath, her body shaking slightly, and slowly, she lifted her gaze, her tears making her eyes glisten under the moonlight. I don't love him, she whispered, her voice barely audible. He's just kind to me. And that's something I haven't had in a long time. She didn't love that guard. I tried to be happy with that. But the jealousy that had taken root refused to let go. The thought of her in another man's arms, even if it was just for a moment, dug deep in my heart. I stepped closer to her, my breath ragged as I reached for her chin, tilting her face up to meet my gaze. The tension between us roared as I held her gaze, unable to fight the mate bond and the need to claim her as mine and make her never forget it. I'm the one who decides who stays and who goes, I said, my voice thick with authority and possessiveness. Seeing you with that boy drove me crazy. My hand slid to her neck, fingers grazing the soft skin there. I could feel the rapid beat of her pulse beneath my touch, and it only made the fire within me roar. And you belong to me, Celine. No one else. Celine trembled under my touch, her lips parting in a breathless sigh. She looked as if she might argue, but I wasn't in the mood for her protests. Not now. Not when everything in me screamed to claim her, to make her mine in a way that was undeniable. Without warning, I pulled her soft body to mine, my lips crashing down on hers in a fierce, possessive kiss. It wasn't gentle. It wasn't soft. It was demanding, showing how much I was trying to imprint myself onto her very being. Celine gasped, her body stiffening at first, but then she melted into the kiss, her hands instinctively wrapping around my neck as she responded. I broke away briefly, my hands softly wrapping around her throat, feeling her pulse as she gasped for air. You think I'll just let you walk away from me? I whispered against her earlobe. You think I'll let you love someone else? Her breath hitched, but before she could speak, I pressed her back against the wall. I wouldn't be able to hold my wolf back. I would mark her as mine. I couldn't let her go. Not now. Without another word, I took control, my sharp claws pricking her skin as I positioned her just the way I wanted. Her eyes widened in confusion, and for a moment, there was resistance in her gaze. But the need in me, the overwhelming jealousy and possessiveness, I couldn't resist anymore. I didn't care anymore. I couldn't. And I saw she wanted it too. In one swift motion, I marked her, my teeth sinking into her delicate skin, claiming her in the only way my wolf knew how. She gasped, her body tensing, but as the mark formed, I felt the bond strengthen, a deep connection that no one could sever. Mine, I breathed, my voice thick with satisfaction as I pulled back to look at the mark I had left on her. You belong to me, Celine, I said again, my voice softening. And I will make you the person you were always meant to be. You will learn what it means to be my queen. Celine. For the first time in a long time, I woke up on a soft bed, the warmth of the blankets cocooning me as a small smile tugged at my lips. I snuggled deeper into the comforter, savoring the softness, the safety, the quiet peace of the moment. But as my mind slowly began to clear, the memories of last night came rushing back, and my smile faltered. I sprang up, panic clawing at my chest as I realized where I was. Kaiden's room. The events of the previous night came flooding back in vivid flashes. His eyes, burning with possessiveness. His kiss, was fierce and claiming. The sensation of being claimed, of being made his. Over and over again. My face flushed with embarrassment, as I noticed the absence of Kaiden. The room was still, quiet, and yet there was a lingering tension in the air, as if his presence still held dominion over every inch of the space. I hastily wrapped the comforter around my naked body, suddenly feeling exposed and vulnerable, despite being alone in this large room. But there was no denying the pull between us. His words, his touch, they had driven me to a place I hadn't thought I would ever feel. I had read it in books, but nothing prepared me for the real experience. Nothing could have prepared me for Kaiden. My heart raced, and the memory of melting into his arms, of kissing him so deeply, was enough to make my pulse quicken and my core throb. The realization hit me like a tidal wave, my mate wanted me. I wanted him too. A part of me had feared it would be different, that he hated me, or that he would turn his back on me. But in that moment, as I had given myself to him, something had shifted in me. My mate was mine. I stood and I gingerly made my way toward the full-length mirror across the room, unable to stop the pull to see the mark he had left on me. My breath caught in my throat as I saw it. His mark, glowing faintly on my skin just below my collarbone. I traced my fingers gently over the mark, my heart pounding in my chest as I stared at the reflection of my face. I barely recognized the woman in the mirror. The woman who had willingly given herself to Kaiden, who had become his in the most primal way. I wasn't sure how to feel about it, about the fact that I had surrendered to him. It was both exhilarating and terrifying, and I was torn, because I was still his niece's slave. There was a part of me, a small, lingering voice, that told me to be cautious. I had no choice now. His mark had sealed us together in a way that couldn't be undone. But what did it mean for me? For us? I pulled the comforter tighter around myself, leaning against the mirror for support. Would things change now that I was marked? I looked around the room, but the silence seemed to echo louder now. I had no idea what I was supposed to do now. But there was no going back now. My gaze landed on the clock and my eyes widened in alarm. I was late. Immediately I rushed to put my clothes on, mentally berating myself for sleeping in when I was still a maid. But when I opened the door to leave, I was met with a set of guards in front of the door. I need to leave. May I be granted access? I asked as they refused to budge even after seeing me. The guard closest to me barely glanced at me before refusing. No, we were given orders not to let anyone leave this room. My brows furrowed in confusion. What? You can't leave me here, I have a job. It's a misunderstanding. The guard barely shrugged before saying. I'm also doing my job here, miss. The king's order was to not let anyone in or out. I would let you out when I get direct orders from the king. I sighed as I closed the door. The king's orders? Was there a reason Kaiden would leave me locked up with guards protecting the exit? Was it because I tried to break out? Oh goddess, was it because of Neil? He did seem jealous of him. I let out a sigh as I sat on the bed, patiently waiting for Kaiden to return. A noise suddenly broke my train of thought, and I turned my gaze to the window. Out of curiosity, I reached out to the window to investigate the sound. I moved towards it, pulling back the curtain slightly to see what was happening. What I saw sent a shock through me. There were several carriages parked outside, far more than usual. It looked like some kind of event was taking place. I could only guess that a large gathering was being held today. But why keep me locked up if there was something significant going on? Before I could think too much more about it, a screech came from the other side of the door, then the door to the room suddenly burst open, and in walked Princess Anya. My heart skipped a beat at the sight of her. Her eyes narrowed with disgust as she stormed towards me. You slut! What are you doing in my uncle's room? How dare you lay your filthy hands on him? My breath caught in my throat as I sprang up to my feet. Princess Anya, it's not what it looks like. Anya sneered as she looked me over. You think you can become Luna Queen by climbing into your uncle's bed? A wolfless thief like you? You're not even worthy of being my uncle's sex slave. Her words felt like a slap on my face, and my eyes filled with tears, but she wasn't done. He already has a queen, his wife is going to be announced at the banquet today, that's to show you that you may be his mate, but you are nothing but a fling. My heart shattered within my chest. Wife? Queen? Kaiden had a wife? Tears gathered in my eyes as the weight of the betrayal descended on me. Was I just for sex? Was yesterday night a lie? Was this mark a lie? Did I not mean something to Kaiden? Was this all just a joke? She backed me into the wall. You are nothing but a wolfless, stupid slut, and the last time I checked, still my slave. So put this on, and go and serve people who matter at the banquet. That's all you are good for. She flung the uniform in my face, then dragged me out of the room, forcefully pushing me into the hallway. The guards didn't stop her. Princess Anya gave me one last scathing look. And the next time I see you near my uncle, I'll make you regret breathing in his direction. Then she walked away, leaving me broken on the floor. Celine's POV. My legs carried me as fast as they could, and I almost tripped a million times as tears blurred my vision as they flowed in streams. The minute I got into my room, I fell onto the floor and shook uncontrollably as I wailed. Could Anya be telling the truth? No, she couldn't. It could just be a huge lie to pull Kaiden and me apart. But my chest throbbed with doubt. I was just a slave. Why would a king want me? If Anya wasn't lying, why on earth would Kaiden make me vulnerable just to abandon me? Was I that worthless? Did last night mean nothing other than him getting pleasure from his useless maid? The thought of that caused me to sob harder. Everything hurt. But there were no answers on my room floor. I had to see for myself if I was just a tool to Kaiden, and the only way was going to do my duties as a maid at the party. Just then, my glance darted to my bed, where a flimsy black dress lay. It was the uniform of the day, and every bit of it was designed to make the maids look more like ornaments than servants. The thin straps, the short hem, and the deep neckline all screamed vulnerability. It was humiliating, but refusing to wear it wasn't an option. I wiped my tears with the back of my hand, forcing myself to stand. My knees wobbled, and my body ached from crying, but I had no choice. If Anya was lying, I needed to confirm it with my own eyes. And if she was telling the truth? My stomach clenched at the thought. I didn't know what I would do. With trembling hands, I pulled off my dress and changed into the uniform. The fabric clung to my skin, making me feel more exposed than I already was. My reflection in the mirror showed a girl with puffy eyes, flushed cheeks, and a quivering lower lip. A girl who had foolishly let herself believe she could be more than just a slave. I inhaled sharply, straightening my shoulders. I had survived worse. I would survive this too. When I reached the grand hall, the party was in full swing. But one thing I noticed as I went to my station was that I was the only one dressed in this. All the maids dropped degradatory comments, and both unmated and mated males traced me with their eyes, almost salivating. This was to humiliate me. My eyes stung with more tears, but I blinked them away, holding my tray and holding my head up high as I did my duty. My fake confidence was working so far until I felt a cold hand on my lower back, causing me to instantly stiffen. Liam, my father's beta's son and a pest who couldn't take a hint. I didn't want him as the daughter of an alpha, and I didn't want him as a slave, but he refused to back down. I hated him and his arrogance. Hey, sexy, he whispered into my ear, causing me to shiver with disgust as I jumped away from his touch, desperate to put a distance between me and the disgusting man in front of me. Liam, I said with contempt as I sidestepped him, but he stopped me by gripping my arm and pressing against me, his breath fanning my ear as he trailed his fingers down my arm. Don't you think enough is enough with you playing hard to get? Why do you have to make it so difficult? I know you want me. I snatched my hand from his grip and glared at him with a sneer. I could never want you, Liam. I'd rather die than stoop to that level. Think about that before you lay your dirty finger on me next time. His eyes darkened at my words, and before I could leave, again, he gripped my wrist, twisting it in a painful angle as his face flushed with anger. Oh, don't act so high and mighty when you are nothing than a slut. What did you just say? I asked through gritted teeth. Oh, Celine. Drop the innocent act. Stop pretending like you didn't purposely dress like a slut to seduce all the men at this banquet. Because that's what you are, a whore. And before you let any other person have a taste, I will have one first because you have been teasing me for years. Don't worry, I'll make you enjoy it. He slipped his hand under my dress and squeezed my bottom, and I gasped in anger. How dare you? I cried, raising my hand in aim to his face, but was stopped mid-air by the sound of my brother's voice. What the hell is going on here? I let out a sigh of relief as Liam immediately let go of me at the sight of my brother and knew he was going to get what he deserved as my brother stormed towards us with anger in his eyes. Spencer, I am so glad you are here. Liam has been, I started to say, but was instantly silenced by the sharp sting I felt on my cheek. What? My ear rang as I tried to figure out what happened through the haze of pain and heartbreak. Through my tears, I could see Spencer glaring at me and Liam's smug smile, and I couldn't believe it. He was defending Liam, not me, his sister. The sting on my cheek was nothing compared to the crack in my heart. My own brother. Siding with him. Spencer. I choked up as I reached to feel my cheek, tears rolling down my face. You hit me. How dare you openly disrespect my beta, slave? He spat, gripping my hair in his fist. Look at you dressed as a slut. Do you think you can do whatever you like now? My shoulders shook as he screamed hurtful words at me, calling me a disgrace while I wondered what I had done to deserve my brother's hatred in this magnitude of humiliating me in a banquet. But I didn't do anything wrong. He was the one who touched me. I screamed, but he hit me again, this one more painful than the last, causing me to fall onto my feet. Since you are dressed as a slut, he's allowed to treat you as one, he declared coldly, and I gasped, fear enveloping me. Spencer, please, I started to beg, but he dragged me into Liam's direction. You made your bed, now lie in it. Do what you like with her, she's no longer my sister. No, Spencer, I cried as Liam ran his hands through my body as the whole banquet watched. I shivered in disgust as I fought against him, but he gripped me tighter. Don't worry, pumpkin, I'll make you enjoy yourself. Suddenly I felt him get pulled away from me and onto the floor, by no one other than. My heart skipped a beat. Kaiden. His eyes glowed with anger as his gaze ran through me, his eyes stopping momentarily at my throbbing face and my uniform. And his anger intensified. He glared at Liam, who was on the floor. You weakling. He growled. How dare you lay a finger on her? Liam's eyes widened in fear as he scrambled across the banquet hall floor. And no, Your Highness. I didn't. Spencer hid his fear and stepped forward. I hit her, Your Highness. But I believe I have a right to discipline my sister if she crosses the line. I was just teaching her some etiquette. He squared his jaw to look more intimidating, but next to Kaiden he only looked constipated. Kaiden's glare zeroed on him and the temperature in the room dropped as he went silent, only the thumping of Spencer's heart could be heard. Well, in that case, as your king, I would teach you some etiquette you would never forget, Kaiden growled, and with the speed of light, Kaiden dragged Spencer's collar and threw him into the wall like a rag doll. The deafening crash of Spencer's bones meeting the wall echoed